On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we continue our dive into death metal December with the brand new album by Cattle Decapitation, Death Atlas. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
And we're two professional broadcasters. We really enjoy ourselves a little bit of heavy metal. And we figured we may as well talk about it. Because that's the one thing that we're good at, I suppose.
Talking about stuff.
That's the skill we've developed.
Yeah. I haven't developed handsomeness at any point in my life.
Nor have I.
Got to talk my way out of situations or into situations.
I suppose. First, I feel like we should talk about what we're drinking tonight. Normally we every week we trade weeks and we get a 6-pack of something, usually craft beer.
Yeah.
Tonight, because it is Cattle Decapitation, and I've been on a weird sort of trend of cow-related things. We'll talk more about that in a little bit.
In a moment.
We figured, try and get something bovine branded. Did you look to see if they had what was that beer?
I did. I looked to see if they had no cow beer.
No cow beer.
No cow beer.
A beer from Wisconsin. I can't remember the name of it.
Spotted cow?
Spotted cow, that's what it is.
Yeah.
They didn't have any spotted cow.
No. Nay.
Nay. No, that's a horse.
Right, okay.
So right now we are drinking chocolate milk rum cream.
Yeah, it's called Tippy Cow. And because I went in and I asked Jamie, who works there, who's there working late tonight, she's the manager, and I said, hey, I need some cow themed. I mean, I looked at all the beer first and there was no cow beer. I need some cow themed. And she said, oh, Tippy Cow. We got to eat some Tippy Cow.
So
it seems dangerous.
Yeah, it certainly does. When you think, oh, chocolate milk plus spiced rum.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, it's not spiced rum. It's regular rum.
Yeah, I suppose. There is kind of a spicy sort of tinge to it.
A little bit, but it's just the chocolate sort of.
Yeah. When you think rum plus chocolate milk, you probably are not thinking, oh, that's really good. You're probably thinking usually milk and alcohol, like dairy and alcohol, results in disgusting.
Unless you're drinking White Russians.
Yeah. But this is pretty good stuff. It really does. It smells like chocolate milk. It tastes like chocolate milk with just a little bit of alcohol tinge.
I feel like you should be drinking this out of a small half-pint carton.
Yeah. Yep.
With some square flat pizza.
Yep.
Yeah.
Reaching for that chalky milk at 3 a.m. Yeah, it's not bad. I don't mind this. I don't mind this at all. But how have you been over the last week?
I've been pretty good. Not too bad. Tonight, finally, I came home. Turns out the little miss, she took the day off from work.
I see.
And decided she was going to wrap presents and put up the Christmas tree.
Oh, because you've been talking about how, we haven't put up any Christmas decorations yet. We're probably not going to do it until Christmas Eve. Well, somebody did it.
Yeah, she got the jump on it, and the kids started putting their decorations on the tree tonight, and
there we go,
that sort of thing. And then I managed to escape all of that and come here
and drink some alcoholic chocolate milk. There we go. Escape your responsibilities
as a father
and drink alcoholic chocolate milk.
That's what it means to be a man.
Yes, that's what it means to be alive. Fuck what Travis Ryan says in the title track.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned I've been on a weird bovine sort of some coincidences.
Sure.
I guess one coincidence anyway is
it's not that huge.
Yeah, a podcast recommendation that I can give is the Beef and Dairy Network.
If you're the kind of person who listens to podcasts.
Yeah, if you're the kind of person who listens to podcasts, I don't know why you would be. But yeah, the Beef and Dairy Network on the Maximum Fun Network is very charming comedy podcast. that presents itself entirely seriously as a industry podcast for people who are involved in or just interested in the production of beef animals and dairy herds. And it is at times it's extremely British humor.
Yeah, very dry.
Yeah. But also extremely clever. Again, British humor.
Sure.
Dry and clever, but also at times very, very surreal.
Yeah.
There is some, like, it gets really weird at certain points. Like, wait, what the fuck is what's going on? What is happening? Like, it's a very charming podcast.
Like, you came in talking about the discovery of the fifth meat.
Shh, don't say it. Someone's going to knock on my door and then we're going to die. We're going to die. Everyone knows there's only 4 meats.
Sure.
There are only 4 meats. There's no such thing as the 5th meat.
It does not exist.
It does not exist. But yeah, very charming. Easy to listen to. They're usually episodes are usually under 20 minutes long, so it's easy to listen to a couple. And they only release one a month, so you can kind of go back a little ways. It's easy to catch up on because there is kind of a through line. Right. Plots develop. So
you want to hit it at the first podcast and then listen through.
Yeah, and it's only been on since late 2015, I think. So that's not. It's 30 some podcasts, I think. So not too terribly hard to catch up on. But yeah, that was sort of the coincidence of just like, oh, we're listening to Cattle Decapitation this week, and I've been listening to
the Beef and
Dairy Network, which is about a process that the band was founded to write protest music for against. So yeah, I thought that was kind of neat. Have you been listening to any other music this week?
I intended to, but it's been such a crazy week. I did.
It's been kind of a nuts.
What did I listen to? I don't remember. I don't remember if it was this week, last month, or
some point in your life.
At some point in my life, just okay, here's a weird thing. For some reason, I had one of those, listen to this, so I listen to this, so I listen to that, so I listen to this.
Yeah, eventually go down a rabbit hole.
You go down a rabbit hole. You start with some really choice death metal, then you end up at Phil Collins.
I mean, that's how it happens.
It happens.
I've had weirder nights.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it happens.
There's the band Henry Cow. You can listen to them.
Henry Cow?
Yes.
Okay.
They were an avant-gardist music thing in the 70s. Group? Yeah.
A group of people
partially
that made
German.
Music.
Yeah.
Partially German. What was the other parts?
American, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Continue the bovine theme.
Sure.
I have been listening to the things that I sort of checked in on because I got reminded of them after we were talking about Gorguts briefly last week.
Yes.
I got reminded of Behold the Octopus. Sorry, Behold
the Octopus.
There's an ellipsis in there.
Yeah.
And Dysrhythmia, because Behold the Octopus has not put out an album in 10 years almost. But Dysrhythmia just put out a new album earlier this year in October. So I figured, I'll check in on that, and it's still fucking bonkers, like avant-garde progressive metal. Dysrhythmia is entirely instrumental, so it's You can definitely see though why he was chosen to play in Gorguts. Like it makes sense.
I also listened to something you had recommended last week and talked about again today. I listened to a little more of it, the Gate Creeper.
Okay, yeah.
And you said it's very meat and potato, and you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
Very meat and potatoes death metal.
Yeah, classic HM2 chainsaw type of sound.
Yeah, and I actually enjoyed it. There was some good guitar work and very very standard sort of guitar melodies, if you will.
Yeah, it's well done. It didn't catch my interest.
Right.
Which is not just because something doesn't catch my interest doesn't mean it's not any good, I suppose. Just that it didn't hold my interest, I suppose. But if it was on in the background, I wouldn't be like, "Oh, Gate Creeper, turn it off."
Yeah, no.
I'd just be like, "Oh, okay,
Okay.
this is good death metal. It's fine." The other thing that happened musically this week.
Yeah.
Can I pull it up? Is Spotify? Are you still gonna let me pull it up?
Let you...
My list of Spotify did a thing. Oh yeah. Well, I have my top songs of 2019, but I want to watch the story thing again. Am I allowed to do that? Spotify? Did you already take that away from me? Anyway.
See, I don't have a Spotify account, therefore I don't have this thing that everybody's talking about there.
That was sort of the big thing, and everyone on the metal subreddits after a couple of days was like, "All right, we don't give a fuck. Stop." I at the very least can. Yeah. Oh, hey, I think I can look at it. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm looking at. Are you ready for your spot? I am logged in, but just not.
Are you all right over there?
Yeah, I'll be okay.
Yeah. See, I have the Amazon Prime over here, but
yeah. See, I like that Spotify provides you with metrics and stuff like that,
sure.
And I like to look at what I've been listening to over the last year. So, yeah, starting with like what I listened to in winter, there was a lot of Swallow the Sun, of course, the Wonder Years, Sigur Rós. We continue to spring, where there was more Wonder Years. But then suddenly a little band called Panopticon shows up. And there's also yet more Dan Campbell, because I was listening to a lot of Aaron West and the Roaring Twenties during summer. That's when I really started listening to Mastodon like nonstop, and yet more Panopticon. Fall, lots of Mastodon, lots of We Lost the Sea. And that was sort of the last one there. And yeah, Mastodon was my number one artist of the year.
And the number one song you listened to was
Blood and Thunder.
Yeah, Blood and Thunder.
I spent 41 hours listening to Mastodon this year.
Wow.
My number two band was the Wonder Years. I was actually kind of surprised that they weren't number one. Number three was Panopticon. They're like, you're a world citizen because you listen to a lot of Nordic music, basically.
Right, you are a Scandinavian enthusiast.
Apparently.
Very cultured.
Yes, I'm an extremely cultured person. The number one song in total, not my number one Mastodon song, actually, my number one song in total was the first song off of Autumn Eternal by Panopticon. It was Tamarix Gold Returns, the just slow, sad bluegrass song that opens it.
Usually when somebody talks about me being cultured, there's a cotton swab involved.
Hey.
Man.
Hey, you're a cultured person. You like all kinds of things.
Sure I do. So what was I listening to in the last week? According to this, I listened to Testament. Listened to that. I went back and I listened to some Sepultura in there.
All right.
I listened to all of Remission, speaking of Mastodon.
There we go.
Yeah. Some Obituary in there. A band called Drive I was telling you about.
Neat.
Did I tell you about them?
I don't think so.
They were the Seattle sort of progressive, sort of where sort of your.
Oh yes, you were telling me about
kind of
this.
Like where your hair metal aesthetic hits progressive.
Metal. And they thought it was going to be the real big thing for the early 90s in Seattle.
Yeah.
In the Seattle hard, heavy music scene. That was going to be the next big thing.
Going to
in the
blow
early 90s.
up.
It's going to blow up. And then these little bastards called Soundgarden showed up.
Yeah, or Nirvana and Alice in Chains. I will admit I had albums from all of those bands.
Yeah.
Yeah, and enjoyed them at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Apparently because you were about to say Alice in Chains, weren't you? I think the guitarist for Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
Because the lead singer passed away a while ago.
Yeah, well, they have new singer, of course. And he's a second guitar player, yeah.
There was some show that they did where Greg Puciato from the Dillinger Escape Plan sang with them.
Cool.
So that's pretty neat. This year, I spent 52,474 minutes listening to music on Spotify.
Did you?
And that's on Spotify. That does not count the time I spent listening to music through via vinyl or maybe on YouTube or anything like that. So, yeah, spent a lot of time.
Oh, this is bugging me now.
What?
Why have I forgotten his name? The aforementioned guitar player for Alice in Chains.
I don't know.
I would know that off the top of my head normally.
Oh, they're also doing like decade end stuff, and you can like review your decade. My artist of the decade is, drum roll please, The Wonder Years.
Wow.
The springs on your microphone mount. Yeah. My artist of the decade was The Wonder Years, to the surprise of no
nobody.
one.
Yeah.
Certainly not myself. My top artists: Mastodon,
Jerry
The Wonder
Cantrell,
Years,
Jesus.
Panopticon, Silent Planet, and We Lost the Sea. Top songs: Tamarix Gold Returns, Hapipola by Sigur Rós, Pale Ghosts by Panopticon, When a Shadow is Forced into the Light by Swallow the Sun.
Sure.
And Blood and Thunder, my most listened to Mastodon song, was actually number 5. It was only my 5th most listened to song on there, despite Mastodon being my number 1 band, because I was busy exploring the rest of their discography as
Indeed, which you did in vinyl.
Yes, which I did in vinyl.
And you also bought their records.
And I also bought their records. I'm still missing 2. I'm still missing The Hunter and Once More Around the Sun. Just I haven't really listened to those 2. I know I should.
Once More Around the Sun, I feel like is very underrated.
Yeah, I know I should pay more attention to those 2 albums, but I love their concept LPs. So
sure,
those are the ones that I have on vinyl. But at some point, I need the other 2.
And you don't have the one with Toe to Toes.
I don't have Cold Dark Place on
right.
vinyl. The EP. I should get that as well. And really, if I had been, because National Record Store Day last year, I wasn't really into Mastodon yet.
Right.
And I believe I remember seeing.
You glossed over it.
I remember seeing their Stairway to Heaven cover.
Oh, sure.
Because that's
was it on 45 or?
I don't know. Because they put that out as a special deal,
right?
For Record Store Day, in honor of their late manager. And I remember seeing that, and I was like, "What the? It's just a dude's face and Mastodon. I don't care about that." And then a month later, I was like, "Wow, these Mastodon dudes are pretty cool." So, yeah, I regret that a little bit. You can probably still find it somewhere, but what else have I been up to? Oh, Halo Reach came out on PC.
Sure.
The Master Chief Collection came out on PC, and I've been playing that. Really excited about it. Taking me back to 2010. And
back a decade.
Maybe it was already out last week when we did the podcast. I don't remember. I've been playing it a lot because it's fun.
Did you beat the story?
Yeah, the story actually is pretty short. You can
really
you can beat the campaign of Halo Reach pretty quickly, I think. I don't know exactly how long it is, but like Halo 2, the world record for the longest time, I think, for beating Halo 2 without using exploits, I think was like 2 hours and 33 minutes.
Oh, really?
For beating the campaign, but that's a speed run, basically. Sure. It was the legendary speed run on the hardest difficulty.
On the hardest difficulty?
Yes. Which Halo 2 on legendary is that shit'll put hair on your chest. Or more hair on your chest.
Yeah.
Depending upon how old you are. Yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to lately.
That reminds me, speaking of hair on your chest.
Yeah.
That's my thing tomorrow.
Yeah, you're getting your nipple checked out.
Yeah. Well, my left nipple's been hurting for quite a while. And I had a doctor's appointment and I mentioned it to him. Just offhand. Maybe he knows something. Maybe he can tell me. Is there a topical cream I can apply? Poultice.
Doctor, what's up with my nipple?
Yeah. So now I'm going to go tomorrow and they're going to do an ultrasound and
an ultrasound
and a mammogram.
I mean, there's not much to squish there, so.
No, well, more than there used to be.
Yeah, I suppose.
In my early 30s, I remember I was coming up some stairs at some point and I went, "What is that weird sensation? I can't explain. Oh, my tits are jiggling.
I have flesh on my body.
What is going on here?
I have loose flesh on my body. I'm simply not a skeleton with skin draped over it anymore."
If you've seen pictures of me, I
have seen pictures. I think you've shown me pictures. The picture you have in your desk.
Yeah.
Of you playing guitar when you had hair down to your ass.
Yeah, and I had loose clothing on that. Now I looked like Matthew McConaughey in the Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah.
I was.
No shit.
I was thin.
Yes.
People might have seen me and gone, "Oh, that poor man.
That poor man.
I wonder how long he has."
You looked like. Something I forgot to mention. I finished Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Oh, sure.
You looked like spoiler alert, Alphonse Elric, when his body is trapped inside the truth, and has been sitting there wasting away for 3 years or whatever.
I could not gain weight. I took protein powder. I used to do that. I did big bottles of it, and it just made me poop more. That's all it did. That's all that happened.
You should have balanced it with an enormous amount of cheese.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. I could do it if my goal was to gain weight. Oh man, it'd just be cheese all the way down.
Sure.
There's endless amounts of cheese. God, I love cheese.
Yeah. Oh, the Pride
great.
of Dakota here a couple of weeks ago. My wife and daughter, no, my wife and son, because our daughter was somewhere else. They went there and they actually spent like $30 or $40 on some Primo cheese.
Ooh.
Yeah, Primo?
Primo. I believe it's Primo.
It's primate cheese.
Yeah.
Made from real monkey milk. No.
Gorilla milk.
Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Minot, North Dakota,
Gorilla milk. All right. And it starts with like a gorilla noise. There we go. I don't know, like everybody knows chimp noises, but I don't know, I don't know what loud sort of noises gorillas make.
That was similar because I used to do commercials for Gorilla Games here, and I used to put their sound effect on it that I found.
You just found somewhere, and they kind of grunt.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Speaking of grunting, Death Atlas, Mechanical Decapitation.
Yes, indeed. I've been listening to this for a few weeks now.
Yeah, it came out on Black Friday, which is pure irony. One of the most famously anti-consumption death metal acts out there, specifically choosing the most
the
most consumption-driven week of the year. It's like have a big feast of animal flesh.
They could have, the day after Thanksgiving,
and Black Friday is rampant material consumerism instead of food.
Paint the devil on the wall.
So it's like material consumerism is not entire. That is not what this album is about. This album is about the end result of centuries of material consumerism.
Yeah, you done fucked up, humans.
Which is
here's an album about what you have to look forward to.
Yeah, the near-term extinction.
Yeah,
in their eyes of the human race, but certainly of many of the other creatures who also call this planet home. That's the title, Death Atlas, Death of the World.
It's about the Anthropocene extinction.
It's about this is the logical extension of the concept of the last album. This is really probably their most solidified concept they've had on an album. The topics and subject matter on previous albums vary. I mean, it's always been like bit of animal rights, bit of anti-consumerism, bit of anti-capitalism, like all that sort of stuff. But this one, I think, is the one that brings it together into the most potent package. And as brutal and awesome as it is, holy fuck, is it depressing?
Yeah,
this is the most depressing death metal album you could possibly listen to, and I love it. I really, really like this, but man, it's kind of a downer. The subject matter is very much focused on climate change, and just kind of the imagery. The imagery is the biggest thing that always carries over from album to album over the last three.
They're very, very good at that. Very adept when it comes to imagery.
The Monolith from Monolith of Humanity shows up in new music video, as well as the bodies on the beach of the previous album cover that are laying open with garbage filling their stomachs and that sort of thing. Like that shows up in the music video for the music video is called The Unerasable Pass, which is the penultimate song, which is an ambient track that leads into Death Atlas, which is the title track. It's the closing track, and it's also the longest song they've ever wrote. And it's like 7-8 minutes of I don't know how to describe. It's 7-8 minutes of kind of almost black metal, parts of it anyway. I mean, there's like death metal riffs in there, but it's like This whole album, I almost want to categorize it as atmospheric black metal, which is not atmospheric black metal, atmospheric death metal, which is the thing that doesn't really exist.
But it's still very, very brutal.
It's still very brutal, and that's, I mean, there's a lot of very heavy guitar riffs, and although, like, Josh Elmore has always been the type, the way he writes his guitar and the way he tunes, the way the band has always tuned guitars, is they don't go for low tunings, typically.
It's not necessary. A lot of bands think it's necessary. It's not.
You don't need to. I think that was Andy Williams from Every Time I Die,
right,
who said it's the riff that's heavy, not the tuning. And Josh Elmore, I think, very much operates on that level of thinking. And yeah, his guitar riffs are very heavy, and Travis's vocals remain as fucking bonkers as ever, and just completely schizophrenic. As always, there's so many different little techniques and gradients of the same sort of vocal that he does. As always, his extremely high shrieks and sort of low guttural growls. There's not as many of his like really nasty gutturals as you can find on some of their earlier works. You know, his regular growl and then his regular growl. It's brought Judas Priest to my mind for some reason.
It's almost like breaking the law.
Yeah.
Regular growl, regular growl.
But he has his sort of normal mid-pitch sort of growl, and then the thing that Travis Ryan does that
the goblin thing.
Yeah, the sort of semi-melodic goblin thing that he does it's Cattle Decapitation's hallmark. It's Travis Ryan's hallmark, really. It's the thing that they do that nobody else really does, because it kind of only works for them. Because I feel like if you listen to those goblin vocals in isolation, it sounds silly. It sounds kind of silly.
But in with the rest of the music, it works.
Yeah, and his vocals are so layered. It's approaching like Devin Townsend levels of layering on so many of his vocals.
Well, it's not necessarily him doing. I mean, and he actually does harmonies with himself.
He does, yes. Surprisingly, he does.
And then that on top of things like this, and it's on top of the demon things.
There's sometimes singing in the background as well as layered with his harsh vocals, which is something that I've heard a few bands do. One of the bands that actually comes to mind first when I think of like singing along with a harsh vocal is A Day to Remember. They've done that. They've done that a lot over their career. Is have singing and screaming at the same time layered on the album. But Travis harmonizes with himself at times, and of course it's not the sort of angelic wall of sound that you would have with Devin Townsend. It's very much the opposite.
Yeah, it's the demonic wall of sound.
Yes, it is. It is the demonic. Apocalyptic wall of sound, and apocalyptic is really the best term for everything. The vibe of this album.
Oh yeah, it's very dynamic.
Yeah, God damn it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you used it. You used our buzzword. But yeah, like this is an album about a very real apocalypse that very well might be 100 years down the road, if that. It might not be as dramatic or as brutal, or it's not going to be quick and clean, but something bad is coming, and if you're Travis Ryan, you're of the opinion that we deserve it. And that is the character of this apocalypse. This is not a zombie apocalypse where it just shows up out of nowhere and everybody dies and now it's about survival and coming together.
It's not a fictional story.
Yeah. This is more like a Fallout where it's no, we did this and we probably deserve it. And that's sort of the opinion that it's expressed on a couple of songs. Trying to remember specifically. It might have been was it that I gotta pull up the song list here. Mm-hmm. Let's look on. All right, Spotify. All right, here, Spotify.
All right.
It might have been Time's Cruel Curtain. I think. Basically, supposing the idea that we know what's coming, or at least if you're paying attention, you know what's coming, and we've had an idea about what we've been doing to our planet for the last 50 years or so, and yet we still have to sit and debate about whether or not anything is actually happening. And it's because of that they bring forth this idea that, well, we had the opportunity to stop this and maybe change our ways and figure out a way to save ourselves, but
it's probably too late now.
Yeah, it's too late now, and we sat on our hands and did nothing because it was the easier thing to do. So fuck it, we deserve it. We might as well take the whole planet with us. Seems to be the sort of idea. It's like I said, this is a horribly depressing album. It's extremely depressing, but I like it. I dig that sort of melancholy. You just kind of have to, because it is so real. But it's the sort of thing you can't wallow in, because you have to bring yourself up out of that somehow.
Yeah,
you were making a scared face there, looking at my glass.
I looked at it, was half off the coaster. I'm like, no, we're not doing this again, are we?
God, I hope not. But yeah, it's the sort of thing that you kind of need. You need a palate cleanser after. You need to watch a video with some puppies.
Yes,
and say like, oh, well, it's not everything's horrible. Puppies still exist, so that's not so bad. Yeah, I really like this.
Then you can hear Travis in the back of your head going, "That's going to be extinct soon."
Oh God, yeah. And we were talking about his vocals.
Yeah,
he not only harmonizes in the background.
Yeah,
he actually in the last two tracks sings.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of it reminded me there's a sort of industrial black metal sort of fusion type band called Ananathrek. They sort of the singing that they did kind of reminded me of that. The singing that Travis did, it reminds me of the way that they handle the singing, the clean singing on their albums. But yeah, he does that on the last two songs, and Death Atlas actually closes with woman, I think.
Yeah.
Just sort of kind of sing, almost like opera, just sort of singing into the nothingness, into the fading guitar riffs in the
Takes
background.
us into the void.
Yep. This is I don't want to call this a nihilistic album, because nihilistic would almost imply that you don't care. These guys care very much.
Yeah.
This album is a lament, if anything, and it's difficult to describe a little bit, other than oofta.
Yeah, and they have the little vignettes. They're the little pieces
Yeah.
between the regular songs.
Every third song,
Yeah.
they have sort of these distorted news reports of people talking about the effects of climate change. Every third song, and in different languages as well.
Yeah,
and they
what
actually.
language do they start in? What is the?
I think the first might be German, but there's also I think I recognize maybe a little bit Chinese and just other languages there. Most of the other, that's mostly in the opening track.
Right.
I think the Great Dying Part 1 is the.
That's a minute long, and that's
yeah. The Great Dying Part 1, which is in the, I think that's the second little interstitial track that they have in there, I believe is the song they've been using as their intro music at shows for the last year or so, maybe a little bit longer. They've been using that news clip as their intro music. But yeah, I really like the I really like the little transitional pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a better word for that. I like those because it is, on one hand, a bit of a rest. You get to take a breather from all of the from all the blast beats and all the super fast tremolo picking and everything. Right. You get to take a breather, but
really
they
sad
also
breather.
Yeah, because they also take that time to hammer home the theme of the album and the message of the album.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't waste any time there. They're not letting you forget what this album is about. And I appreciate there's so many death metal bands that will, and just metal bands in general, that we're writing around this theme, or like we want to write about climate change. Cattle Decap is really hammering it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no questioning what they're on about. There's no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
Something interesting that I was reading about Travis, because Travis and Josh are vegetarians.
Sure.
Despite the fact that the entire internet seems to think that they are hardline vegans.
They're just vegetarians.
Yeah, they're vegetarians. Mm-hmm. And Travis has said, he's like, I've been a vegan at times,
mm-hmm.
but when you're traveling out on the road in a death metal band, that is not feasible.
Mm-hmm.
You can't walk into Whole Foods at 3 a.m. after a show
mm-hmm.
to get food. Like it's not, you're traveling down the road
mm-hmm.
in a van that consumes fossil fuels,
mm-hmm.
and it's covered in the carcasses of dead insects. So it's like we can't afford to take ourselves that seriously, because the people who do take themselves that seriously are going to tear us apart.
Mm-hmm.
So I think over the years their message has slowly shifted from like the animal rights thing that was mostly what their early work was about.
Mm-hmm.
And then around Monolith of Inhumanity, they sort of transitioned into talking more about environmentalism.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a shift that has done them some good. Not to say that animal rights is dumb or anything, but
right.
I think that's a transition that's worked very well for them, because it's a theme that is more relatable to more people. It's something that you can get the meat eaters in on. So, yeah, it's a bit like a Christian band, a Christian metal band that doesn't write exclusively,
sure,
worship music that happens to have screaming in it.
I actually listen to a lot of Christian metal and a lot of, but and what I can appreciate,
Silent Planet is my third favorite band of the year.
Yeah. But I can appreciate a lot of times when they're not singing about. I mean, they are that religion, but they're not singing about that religion.
And they use the themes like religious themes are everywhere. Even people that are not expressly, saying like, "Oh, we're a religious band," or like, "I'm a religious poet," or anything. Like just the way that our culture has worked, especially Western culture and Christianity, religious themes are everywhere.
Sure.
Like
I mean,
if you're an English major, everything can kind of be boiled down to how does this relate to Jesus, sort of.
And it's in the language.
Yes.
I mean, either you or I stub our toe or get scared by, something, Jesus Christ,
God fucking damn it. Yeah. Despite the fact that neither of us are religious.
Right.
So, yeah,
it's just it's a part of the language.
Yes, that is the way. That's just the way it goes. And so them sort of choosing to talk more. I think the analogy got lost in there.
I think so.
The comparison I was trying to make got lost in the weeds there, but that's okay. That happens. Anyway, this is a dumb question.
Okay.
Especially this month. This is a dumb question, but does this slap?
No. Of course.
Yeah.
It slaps. That's silly.
It's a really fucking stupid question to ask during Death Metal December.
Right, because, I mean, this is an album I listen to. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have a little bit of an anxiety issue that sometimes manifests itself on my face whenever I'm having an intense moment.
Yes.
My wife was giving me the eye the whole time. Every time I listen to this, she's looking like, is he listening to death metal, or is he going to murder us? Which thing is it?
Sorry, I'm just thinking about how our children have a very jeopardized future.
Yeah. and being slapped while it's happening.
Yeah. My God.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that happens to me a lot when listening to metal. I mean, it's a weird, just almost explosive response that I have to tame down.
Yeah.
Which is why I love the genre so much.
Yeah. It's that sort of thing where, like, if I were on the ground floor here, and could stomp around with impunity, I probably would.
Right.
Like, the Dillinger Escape Plan. Certain Dillinger Escape Plan songs make me want to break everything I own. I love that band, and I love those songs, but they make me want to smash everything around me.
Speaking of which, you read the thing we talked about Mastodon earlier.
Yeah. Crusher Destroyer makes me want to run headfirst into a brick wall.
Right.
And that's a good thing.
And that's why it should be the American national anthem.
Yes. So it took a little while for reviews of this album to come out. I think people were kind of sitting on this and analyzing it for a little while before they made any sort of official comment, or maybe they just didn't really release many preview copies. I don't know. But out of 5 reviews that I managed to find scores for, because there were a lot of them that were just blog post reviews that didn't provide any score. The number I was able to come up with was 87% as an average out of 5.
It's very high.
It's pretty good. That was brought down by a 70% that was given by, I think, Sputnik Music.
Okay. Sputnik didn't like it as
no,
much?
They still 3.5.
Oh, sure.
Is still good.
3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, 3.5 out of 5. That's still
out of 100.
Yeah, no. Sputnik does not operate on the IGN scale.
Right, the IGN, where if you don't give it high marks, you're saying it sucks.
If it's not above if it's not above a 5, if it's anywhere between a 5 and a 7.5, it's the worst game ever made.
Right.
3.5 is definitely on the positive end of the scale, and they were positive in the review about it. The blurbs that I bothered to read, they just didn't they didn't think it was perfect. On the other hand, there was a lot of 90s in there. There was a 95. Generally the critical response has been pretty good, and that's in line with the last 3 albums or so that Cattle Decap has done. They've sort of picked up a critical following, sort of become critical darlings a little bit, and especially as their popularity has certainly grown in the last 2012. So in the last 8 years.
8 years. Yeah, it's almost 2020.
Yeah, it is almost 2020.
Holy shit.
Yep. So what's your favorite track?
I really love Bring Back the Plague.
Okay, yeah, Bring Back the Plague is very good.
Yeah. I love that song. I love the second track, which is the first actual song we get into, which is with Genocide or
Geocide.
Geocide, that's it. Love that one. The title track is awesome as well.
Yeah, I got to give my favorite to the title track.
Yeah.
They do that melancholy, atmospheric black metal thing that I love so much. Like I was talking last week about Falls of Rauros and stuff like that. This triggered that same itch that I love to scratch. That is sort of these epic and desperate struggles that end poorly. There's some sort of I almost want to call it morbid curiosity, where it's like why I find the apocalypse so compelling, especially when things don't turn out well in the end. That's why I enjoy The Road so much. Like, this album feels like it's almost describing the world of The Road in a way, when they when Cormac McCarthy is talking about in flashback the actual apocalypse that takes place, where he's talking about fire in the hills and that sort of thing, and cannibal.
Is that your favorite Cormac McCarthy?
I haven't read any other Cormac McCarthy books in total. I read a little bit of Blood Meridian.
Blood Meridian. You hated it?
No.
Oh.
I need to finish it.
Oh, it's a great book. That is just a bleak ass fucking book.
It's Cormac McCarthy.
Well, yeah.
The man does not write positive, happy-go-lucky books. I need to read the rest of Blood Meridian, and at some point I should read No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
But The Road is the only one I've read all of.
No Country
And I've
for Old
also, have you seen the movie for The Road, by the way?
I have not.
With Viggo Mortensen.
No.
Fantastic. And
Really?
Charlize Theron shows up as well. Fantastic movie.
Nice.
Also, Robert Duvall shows up.
Wow. He's dead now, isn't he?
I
believe so, yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to look at that.
Okay.
At any rate, he shows up and I cannot recall the actor's name that he played. You haven't watched The Wire, but it's Omar on The Wire. I don't recall the actor's name.
I need to watch The Wire too.
Yeah,
I've been told that
it's good. It's really good. It's really good. One of my favorite shows I watched last year. I watched a lot of television last summer. But yeah, the title track just triggers this sort of really bleak apocalypse itch that I have that kind of gets the emotional theme of desperation that seems to show up so much in like atmospheric black metal. I like that stuff. I don't know why. It's very compelling to me. So what metal are you bestowing? You didn't even let me finish my Star Wars reference.
Yeah.
I was going to... What metal are you bestowing upon this album, like Princess Leia to Luke Skywalker?
Yeah.
It's a gold.
Yeah.
It's a gold.
Yeah.
It's gold. It's gold.
It's gold.
It's gold.
Yep.
It's gold, Jim. There's nothing... It's good. It's good shit.
I have to say, I've really only listened to like 3 of their albums. 3 Catalytic Cabinet, and all of them.
Really? Me too.
Really?
But, yeah. I mean, I've listened to their early work, but it's not quite my taste. Their style really kind of they figured out what they wanted to do on Monolith, is how I feel. Like, it took them 12 years into their history as a band, but they sort of figured out what they want, the style they wanted to go for.
And they really figured it out.
And they doubled it down.
Yeah.
They doubled down on it. And like Harvest Floor is pretty good. I have listened to Harvest Floor, a few times through, but anything pre 2010, I have not listened to a whole lot of. I should, but I haven't. So their last 3 albums, which is this one now, Anthropocene Extinction and Monolith, are the center of my listening.
Sure.
It's the ones where like. Those are the albums only they could have made.
Sure.
So their other stuff could have been done by like any other gore grind band back then. Once they started tightening things up, that's when they became Cattle Decapitation. So yeah, we are continuing our trek into the void, I guess. That's just always. That doesn't have anything to do with Death Metal December. That's life.
That's what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah. To be alive is to squander everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're continuing our trek into Death Metal December as we delve deeper into the bowels of winter. Is it still snowing out there? I can't. It's too.
Not for the moment.
Okay.
I'm looking at the light over there. I don't see anything flying in front of it.
All right.
All right. So next week.
Yeah, you're bringing. This is your first album of the month.
Yes.
So we did 2 of mine. Now we're doing 2 of yours. What are you bringing?
I'm going to take us back into the 1990s with "Blessed Are the Sick."
Blessed Are the Sick, bruh.
From Morbid Angel.
Morbid Angel.
This was a turning point in my life listening to that album.
All right. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. Yeah. And then it's going to be Chuckmas.
Chuckmas. We wish you a Merry Chuckmas.
We wish you a Merry Chuckmas. We wish you a Merry Chuckmas. And a riffy. A brutal New Year. I think we did. I think last year we said brutal New Year.
We said brutal?
Yeah.
Was it a brutal year?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of brutal.
Yeah, it was a brutal year. But hey, Chuckmas is a cause for celebration.
Indeed.
It's not here yet, though, so we can continue to be depressed. But no one is allowed to frown on Chuckmas. You're only allowed to make Meshuggah face on Chuckmas.
Exactly.
That face you make when you hear a really nasty riff.
Yeah, the stank face.
The stank face.
The stank face.
Speaking of stank face, recommendation for anybody who likes to get funky. There is a funk band.
Yes.
That I came across last year sometime.
Not literally.
Yeah. Oh God. And introduced OJ to.
Yeah.
Called Wolfpack. They recently became one of the first independent bands to play a sold-out live show at Madison Square Garden.
Mm-hmm.
The whole live show is available to watch for free on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I highly recommend you guys go and give a listen to that, and their other works as well, because Wolfpack is really, really intriguing, interesting, fun, and extremely, extremely funky.
If you're thinking to yourself, man, this is pretty funky, I wonder,
does it get funkier?
Yes.
Don't worry, it does. That's literally a series of songs that they have put out.
Every time it gets funkier, it gets funkier.
Perhaps the best intro, yeah, that was my intro to the band. There is a video on someone else's channel called It Gets Funkier, but every time it gets funkier, it gets funkier. Search that into your bar, and you will be launched upon a magical journey into the world of minimalist funk.
Right.
And I think you'll have an amazing time.
Indeed.
So that's my last recommendation of the episode is Wolfpack.
All right.
So if you appreciate us for what we do, you like listening to us, you think we've got decent opinions on things, well, thank you for thinking so. And maybe check us out on Facebook and on Twitter and use that to share us with your friends.
Sure.
Or barring that, just, talk to your friends in person, like they used to do in the old days.
IRL.
Yeah, IRL, as the kids say. Go up to another human being and say, hey, if you like podcasts, listen to these people. I don't know why you would talk to another person in person.
That's weird.
Without microphones being present to record your interactions.
Or some sort of HEPA mask.
Yeah, you don't want to get sick.
Yeah,
come on.
terrible.
People have germs.
Yeah.
Ugh, disgusting. But go and give that a shot, please. If you could tell your friends about us, that'd be neat. Also, if you have discovered us on some sort of venue, maybe you're one of the 2 people who've ever listened to us on YouTube, check us out on your iTunes or your Libsyn feed or whatever, and give us a subscribe, and we'll always pop up for you so you can listen to us.
I'm always surprised by that. I look at old YouTube postings and I go, this has 0 watches. Nobody's.
I feel like because I don't think they applied. As far as I know, I don't think tags get dropped onto the YouTube videos. That's probably why.
That's why.
They might not have tags on them. So thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Metalist Podcast. Happy Death Metal December. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ. Congratulations. Somewhere in the grey wood by the river is the huntsman, and in the booming corn and the castellated oppressive cities. All right, I just did. Moving forward.
The car is on fire. And there's no driver at the wheel.